Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, my number 3, I assume, is on your list somewhere. Is Alien Isolation.
It's my number 3. So that's handy.
Well, I mean, you might as well go first.
Okay, so probably about 5 hours in now. I know it's a very long game. So I would consider myself still quite early on, even though it feels like I've been in the game for ages. And obviously the game, you can spend a long time in that game achieving absolutely fuck all, can't you? Just because you might, you might lose your save, or you might just spend that whole time stuck in a box or a locker.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It still wasn't really doing it for me until I started getting to the point where I felt like the game started to be the game that it actually is, if that makes any sense. Whereas I started really having to go not head on, because that's never a good idea, but actually do stuff where the alien is, and it started to feel like it wasn't scripted anymore and it was happening more organically. And all the stuff with like the art design, I love the atmosphere. The sound design is phenomenal, including the trainer squeak that you sometimes get when you're moving. It's just what a great touch that is. The alien itself is obviously incredibly well animated and heavy and just horribly nasty. It doesn't scare me, the game, because it doesn't do what a PT does to me psychologically, but obviously it's incredibly tense, especially when he was like hiding under a table and the thing's pacing back and forth and its tail's knocking over bins and shit in the rooms. The problem I have is I know how long it is that people are telling me that it's clocking in like 25 hours, and realistically, I don't know if I want to be spending 25 hours hiding in lockers. I don't know. That's my problem so far. But it's an incredibly impressive game in so many ways, and I don't know, there's some missteps along the way, but it would be completely ill of me to really talk with any level of judgment, because I'm just not far enough into the game on a whole to offer my final thoughts. But I'm liking it more now. It might be a few weeks before I go back to it once the schedule's cleared up, but it ain't going anywhere. It's staying on the PC for sure.
Well, I think you should definitely 100% finish it. I finished it earlier this week, or late last week. And while the issues that I've spoken about previously are still a problem for me, and they did occur again later, some of the issues that I've had.
Stuff where you just couldn't help yourself but die.
When you have to die in order to figure out that you can't go in that area of the room. You know, it's stupid shit. But all of those problems are completely meaningless, because I'm sure I said this to you, if I was reviewing it, I would have found it very hard not to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Because it's an amazing thing. And for the final few hours, for the final 6 hours, I'd say, I just did not want it to end. I'd say it's closer to 20 than 25, but I mean, like you said, it's a weird game to put a time limit on, because if you're playing it correctly, you are hiding quite a bit. I have heard complaints that it's overlong, and I don't really get that. I think it's compelling right until the end, and I think that's a real testament to the writing, because although I've had some issues with some of the writing, and despite the fact that the game is just Ripley getting thrown into shit situation after shit situation, and you're also just running around and pressing buttons and hiding and pressing buttons and hiding, and yet I was gripped for the final stretch, especially for the final 6 hours or so. Even though it does get pretty hokey a few times when they're trying to concoct problems for Ripley. So there's some annoying bits where people just become either supernaturally incompetent all of a sudden, or they suddenly turn evil. But that's just the genre, I guess. Those are just things that you have to accept. And the actress that plays Amanda Ripley is excellent. Needless to say, as the game goes on, she gets more and more frazzled and distressed. But it's not overplayed. And by the end of the game, it sounds like she's a different person. Amanda Deck, I think that's right. I think that's the name of the actress. So terrific, because roles like that are so often overplayed, and I thought I was really, really impressed. It really made the final few hours, it really added to the final few hours. Okay. Briefly, additional things that I encountered, problems, or rather things I really do think that it should save after cutscenes. You can play for 20 minutes, sit and watch a pivotal bit of plot cut in a cutscene, move to a whole new location, and can play for a bit and then die, and then you have to go back to before all of it. I think that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Later on, that actually doesn't happen. It starts saving after some of the cutscenes later on, but I don't think it should have happened. Yeah, it does, yeah, later on. But in the beginning, I'm not sure why. I don't think it should have happened at all. It also, sometimes when it sort of broadens a little bit, allowing you to move around and do things your own way a little bit, it benefits you to go back to a save station that you've already used to resave. But the game knows this and makes it very difficult for you to do that. So the alien will just start behaving really unusually, like overly aggressively, and spends way too much time patrolling that specific location for minutes at a time. Those bits are really cheap. Those threaten to really wind me up, because it's just trying to, I don't know, trying to prolong the game. I'm not sure, but those were really frustrating. But I don't care, because all of the problems melt away when you look at what they've achieved on the whole. I mean, I really hope they get a chance to make another one of these, and I just hope that it does amazingly well, because it's, you know, its influences are all over it, and yet it manages to feel brand new. I also think part of the brilliance of it is the alien is not actually in it that much. Any more or less, and it would have gone right off the boil, because you're constantly hoping that it doesn't show up. But there are long stretches where the alien is not really a threat to you, and you spend the whole time hoping that it's not there and waiting, you know, sort of dreading it returning. I think that's a really wise move, and it's just such a beautifully rendered universe. I felt like I spent 20 hours somewhere else. Visually as well, I mean, it's no surprise to see, you know, there were moments when it looked like the Xbox One was really struggling, because it looks so good. And later on, when you leave the ship and you're in outer space, I've never seen it done better. I've never felt more like I was stuck in outer space. They create really weird, brilliant sort of visual distortions from the light and your fatigue, and the sound when you're outside the ship and you can hear the pressure around your face. It feels like you're staring death in the face, which is exactly what you're doing. And as in the rest of the game, you're trying to hurry whilst also being very careful that you don't die. It's just the tension. I think the final 6 hours just cemented it as a bit of a masterpiece for me. And the audio just, it deserves to win every award that it's eligible for. And I love, towards the end, layers of music start building as you move towards the climax. It's so good. It's just a hell of a creation. It's really bold, and I can't get over how exciting it is, particularly in the second half. I just hope they all get rich off it. They deserve to get rich. An amazing video game, truly.